If you're a Willys purist, you might want to look away, because I stuffed an LS in this thing and didn't stop there. The real question is it the most insane Willys build ever? Let's find out.
Oh shit! Oh.
So I started this project back in 2019. There was a guy who used to work for WFO who had a old Willys pickup like this. I saw him on Instagram. I'll try and tag him so that you guys can see his rig. But his is a pretty similar setup to mine. So he's the reason why I wanted to build something different, something that no one really saw out on the trail. And one of my good friends from high school, he told me that his grandpa actually had two of these. So I had to go over there and check them out. And we ended up with this one. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce to you guys my 1949 Willys pickup. And we'll start from the front and we'll talk about everything that I did and stuff that I'm going to do in the future, and not changes but additions to the truck to make it better. So let's get that going. Okay, starting up front, we'll start with the frame section. So this rig is actually on its original frame. I just boxed it in with a 3/16 plate, and then in the front I used some thick 1/4 inch C-channel and some thick rectangular tubing to build a bumper. And then the winch is just a cheap eBay winch that I have on here. Not for me, mainly for other people. I've only used it a few times. Not even out on the trail really, just to move vehicles around here at the shop. But I do have a old school worn winch that I'm going to be putting on it. I need to rebuild the winch first before I can put it on. But yeah, it is leaf sprung. These are YJ 2.5 inch lift front springs for it. And everything that I was doing on this, I was just guessing to see if the ride height would even match or anything. So up at the front are YJ springs. I did the shackle in the front. For now, I ended up building some little brackets to mount the shocks, because actually the first time out I didn't have front or rear shocks on it. Moving down to the axle, this is a GM Dana 60 out of like an 80s Chevy pickup. I had bought these from a guy, and his deal was if I buy them off of him and I plan to do anything to the axle, that I go through him. And he actually didn't even charge me to rebuild this whole thing. So this thing inside and out is resealed, and new bearings, races, everything. It is geared with 538 gears, so I get that low gear ratio. The steering setup I have gone through a couple different times. I'll enter a clip in here.
Is Lucy steering? Oh, the whole box. The whole box is moving like that. See if you can go straight back.
This steering box was a huge pain for me for a few trips. I ripped it out a couple times, but now we have a thick plate. It is there's like triple pass welds right here. These are welded in bungs that pass all the way through the frame. So it is way stronger now than before. Before it was just this plate that was welded on and it was getting super flimsy and it would always snap. And that was before I had the PSC Hydro Assist, which that, if I can get you guys in here to show you, that is just welded to my leaf spring mount and to my crosslink bar. And these crosslink bars are from, this whole kit is from WFO. They're the only company that has a crosslink in the back. So there is nothing up front besides the from the pitman arm to the first knuckle. Also, when I had this whole axle gone through and freshened up, I went ahead and put a Eaton E-locker in the front, just because I was there, and it's actually working really good. No issues with that at all yet. Moving on to my wheel and tire setup, I just have some cheap, I think they were like $100 a piece, 17-inch rims. The tires are 40, 13 and a half, 17 Pro Comps. They were super cheap and they actually do really good out there on the trails. I usually air these down to about 5 psi and I haven't had any problems yet with debeating. They grip the rocks really well and I've seen nothing but great success with these tires. My selectors, when I got these axles, I think it was the passenger side was all torn apart and was missing some components. So I ended up going with G2 selectors. They are only quarter turn and they're locked. And they do feel cheap. They were cheap. They're definitely not Warrens, but they haven't broke yet. So we'll see how they hold up in the future. But for a couple of years now of doing some very hard wheeling, they have not broke. Moving on into the engine bay, this is just a cheap junkyard 5.3 LS. This is actually the second engine that I have put in it, the second LS that I have put in it, because the first one had a blown head gasket and we went through the mud bogs and it sucked up a bunch of water and ended up with a little bit of rod knock.
He's blowing. That's it. He sucked water, so it instantly died. It
died? Ready?
Yep.
The harness is just one of those cheap eBay standalone harnesses that I had to repin. There are some stuff that I don't use. I just leave it hanging there. It's not meant to look pretty. It's meant for a purpose. The radiator is a Be Cool radiator that was very expensive, and I was very nervous about cutting up and welding different things onto it because that was a pretty penny to pay. We ended up welding on some brackets so I can bolt it down, cut this filler neck off. It used to just come straight out and it was a different size. Cut that off, built this tube, and welded that in on the passenger side. Same thing with the inlet. We had to cut that off and clock it the right way. For now, I just have a pool style electric fan. Keeps the truck cool. I don't have any issues with it overheating. The manifolds are just stock Corvette manifolds, so I can get the clearance in between the frame. And on the driver's side, it is actually really tight next to my steering. I just want to be clear here. When I started building this, I was 18 years old, didn't know a thing about working on cars, so a lot of this is kind of funky, kind of weird, but it works for me. Also, when I got it, it had no drivetrain at all. It had the stock axles in it, and I wasn't going to be using any of that. There was not even any sort of brakes on it at all. There was no master cylinder. There was no clutch master. There was none of that. So all of this I had to source and go online and read forums and ask friends of what they use and see what's better and actually try it out for myself. It doesn't do you any good if you're just asking around for opinions. It actually helps to put stuff to the test and actually try it. You guys can't really tell right now with the fenders off, but this engine bay is so small, so I had to tightly pack everything in here. So one of those main problems was my clutch and brake master. So my brakes, I just have a normal booster, which is the smaller. I think it's like a 8-inch or something, so I can clear my valve covers. And then the master is just out of an 80s Chevy pickup. The clutch master is a Willwood 3/4 bore. I originally had a hydraulic ram that was mounted to my transmission, but I was having issues with the clutch not fully engaging and not fully disengaging. So I ended up going with a throwout bearing that is now a hydraulic throwout bearing. So that's what my clutch is engaging and disengaging with. The brake lines, I had to do all of that new. They're not the best looking, but they function. There are still a few things that I need to tidy up, like mount this bracket up and maybe get these lines ran a little bit better so they're not in the way, but I haven't caught my brake lines on anything yet, so it's not an issue right now. The first engine that I had in this was a 305 tune port out of like a 80s Camaro. It was okay, but I was having a lot of issues with the injectors and they kept clogging. That was just fighting me really hard on trying to get this thing running good.
On there? Yep. Alright, go for it. I bet if you got a sprain in there, it'll shift out though. Earplug? Yeah, buddy. Ready? Yeah.
So my brother said, hey, the LSs are cheap. We can make a lot of power and get this thing more modern faster. So I ended up yanking that motor out and selling it and buying this one. Moving into the cab, there isn't a whole lot to look at here. There's not a lot of space, but we'll show you what it looks like with someone sitting in there. So inside the cab, I really didn't do much in here yet because I want to keep a lot of space for a roll cage when I do build the roll cage.
Oh shit! Oh.
But for now, I ended up with like it's out of like a early 2000s Tahoe. The third row actually fits in here perfectly, and it has built-in seatbelts, so that's a major plus. This steering column is from Speedway. It's just a generic steering column with a quick release steering wheel for like race cars, but I don't take the steering wheel off just because I don't need to yet, because I don't have a roll cage in here. But hopefully soon. I did get all the material to build the roll cage. We are not going to be doing an exo cage. We're going to be doing it inside, keeping it all nice and tight. We're going to do some cross bracing, and I have the book for Ultra 4 trucks to go by their specifications on the roll cage. So maybe one day in the future, if things really get out of hand with this thing and I end up cutting the front of the frame off and doing some coilovers on it, maybe we'll race this one day, but not today. We're mainly looking for safety, and a roll cage is definitely a must for now. You guys may also be wondering why there are no doors. The driver's door, I caught it on a rock. You can actually kind of see how bashed up the bottom of the cab is. I caught it on a rock and it bent it out, and my window was down, and I shattered the window. And those doors were all rotted out anyways. I ended up picking up another cab that had really nice doors. I just haven't had the time to bolt the new doors on yet. They are the wrong color. They're red, but it's all right. This thing isn't meant to look pretty. It's meant for purpose built. This is my old driver's door and my new driver's door. I have the old and new passenger door over here too. These are my fenders for it. Those came with the truck, so those are going to go back on it. But this door, I have to take everything out of it and put in my new doors, because these are just a shell, basically. So window, since that got shattered, I'm going to try and find some plexiglass or maybe another window that's in better shape, so I can put a window back in this thing. But this door, it got all bent out this way, and it was bad. I couldn't even close the door. I had to bend it all back in, and I had to slam the door shut for it to actually close. And if you guys know anything about these Willys pickups, the doors do not stay shut, so I got to figure that out. Every little bump, or when the cab twists a little bit, the latch just comes unlatched, door will swing open, and that's ultimately what happened to this door and totaled it. So maybe I can figure something out to keep the doors latched. Maybe we're gonna have to Oki rig something. I really don't want to, but if I have to, I will. So with that, we're gonna try and get these new ones mounted up soon, because it is wintertime. It doesn't look like it now because it's a nice day out today, but rain's coming, snow's coming, and we want to go snow wheeling with this thing. I do need to put a heater in there so we stay nice and warm, but yeah. So a look inside the cab, really not much to look at here. I have a Summit switch panel, there's ignition, crank, I got lights, and my front locker. That is nothing yet. I also have a nice convenient USB port to charge your phone or your radio. For now, all the wiring is just tucked up in here. I still need to tidy all that stuff up. Turn signals did work until a friend of mine hit me when we were out on the trail. So turn signals don't work anymore. Probably just a blown fuse, but we'll get that figured out later. So looking down on this is a little tunnel that I had built because I was tired of all the heat coming into the cab. My transmission is a SM420 out of like a four-wheel drive Chevy pickup, which the 420s, if you know, they have a low front gear, so it's optimal for crawling. And then my transfer case is a Dana 300, and it has a twin stick kit, so I can do front end high low and rear end high low, so I can actually do front wheel digs if I wanted to. In the future, we are going to put some turning brakes on it, so I can actually pivot on the rear brake, and that will look pretty cool once we get all that going, and I'm pretty excited about that. Moving to the back, there really isn't much going on back here. We'll start with the bed. So inside the bed, I just have a Summit Racing fuel cell. I think it's a 20 gallon or 25 gallon. I've been fighting problems with the fuel pump, and I was going through like a fuel pump every time we would go out rock crawling. And I'm like, man, what the heck is going on? Well, I opened the fuel cell up and it's full of foam. And I ended up blowing the fuel pump out, and there was a bunch of little bits of foam in the fuel pump. So the foam was degrading and getting into my fuel line, clogging up my fuel pump, clogging up my fuel filter, and that's why I was running through pumps so much. So for now, I just took the foam out and got a filter that I can take apart and clean. But so lately, I haven't had any issues with it. It still gets a little clogged. There's a couple pieces still floating around in there, but eventually we'll get all the foam out of it. Moving further along into the bed, there's nothing else in here besides my fuel cell and my battery. The battery box is just a cheap one, I think from O'Reilly's for like a boat or something. I do have a nice stainless steel one that I will be putting in here, but I think what I want to do is move my fuel cell down underneath the bed. I think I have enough space under here to get it mounted up, but for now that works. Moving to the back of the rig, we have a GM 14 bolt. This one also I bought along with the front axle. It was a matching pair out of a truck. So this one got freshly rebuilt too, with bearings, seals, races, everything, and also 538 gears. This one does not have a locker. It has a limited slip. I didn't want to run an air locker just because they're known for failure if they're not properly set up. So me not knowing enough about them, I just opted out of it and just stuck a limited slip in here. The shock setup is kind of like an old school setup at a hard angle. It's, to me, it works great. It's not too stiff, and it doesn't bind up any. Yeah, they work out great. I ended up doing a disc brake conversion in the rear. That was actually really simple. Just the brackets bolted right up, and it came with the rotors too and brake calipers. So this thing, when I got it, was street legal. I wanted to keep it street legal, so we had to run all the wiring for the brake lights, the turn signals, and all of that. And I live in a town where you need to have mud flaps on your rig. I got some brackets from a local semi-truck store and cut a mud flap up, and I got 2 mud flaps. And I also got the quick disconnect for it, so I could take them off when I get to the trail, throw them into the bed of the truck, and go wheeling. And once we get back on the road, I just slip them back in and head home. So when I started building this, I was thinking of approach angle, departure angle, and belly height. So if you look underneath, the only thing that hangs down low is my exhaust. Everything else is tucked up super high. My transfer case is really high up. My transmission is really high up. The plan is to boat side this and tie the cage into the frame and maybe do some skid plates underneath, but I don't really need the skid plates. Nothing hits. Um, there's no gouges on the frame or the exhaust in any way that shows me that I need a skid plate. And we have done some crazy wheeling in this thing, some stuff that I probably shouldn't have, but this thing has done everything that I've put it up to, and it just surprises me every time I go out and try something new, and it just dominates out there. So my brother tunes all of our LS engines, and he told me something about a ghost cam, because I wanted to put a cam in it just for like that throaty sound. And he said, well, we can make it have a ghost cam. and I asked him how he did that. He doesn't tell me how he did it, but I guess it's super easy and it sounds cool, and it's cost me nothing to make it sound like it has a cam in it. So we'll do a quick little startup and show you guys. I wanted to show you guys real quick how much flex this rig actually has on being on leaf springs. So that is front tire all the way up, rear tires are still touching the ground, front tire still touching the ground. That's it, max droop on the front, max compression on the front. This is max compression on the rear. Doesn't even touch my bed, which is perfect. And max droop on the rear. The rear, it has Chevy 63s, and the leaf spring mounts are from WFO. Same with the fronts, also from WFO. But I mean, look at this thing. Look at this thing work. With it like this, you can also really see how nothing hangs down under the frame. And there's nothing to this thing. Here's a shot of the rear, flexed out. So this is my backup cab. So that cab that's on it right now, I peeled the roof off a couple times on accident. The roof is all rusted out on it. That cab's in horrible shape. That's why I don't feel bad whenever I beat on it.
Just loose your steering? Oh, the whole box. The whole box is moving like that. See if you can go straight back.
But if there was ever a rollover and it was too far gone to where I just can't straighten it back out, I do have a spare cab. This cab is a little rusted out, but it's not too bad. And that's why I have so many extra parts. I've actually had, let me count for a second. So I bought that one first, which was more complete. Then I bought a cab, front clip, and bed. So that's 2. And then the third one I bought off of my cousin, which was complete minus a frame. And then I ended up with this one. A friend of my father's found out that I have one, and he asked me if I wanted to buy his, and I said yeah. So this one I'm going to be keeping as a spare for now, but all the other parts I don't really have a use for them. The fenders are shot, the front fenders, the rear fenders are shot. Other than that, just the cab is pretty much what I'm going to keep, and maybe the frame. I might try different things, maybe do coilovers one day, and that would be an easy blank slate to start with. This is another frame that I have for it, just in case stuff goes south with that frame. I have a backup. But this frame shows you kind of what it looks like from the factory, from the 40s. It's just C-channel, and I went through everywhere that it was open. I put a plate. So I put a plate here, I put a plate here, plate from right here all the way back to here, and then in the back I did some more cross bracing to help try and stiffen the frame so it doesn't twist up. So when I first bought that truck, it cost me $500. So yes, it is a budget build, but there are a lot of expensive parts to it. The wheels and tires, for one, that was around $2,500. The axles, that was around $6,000. So there's a bunch of little things that add up, but I had to build it from scratch, and I wasn't going to, throw some 3/4 ton axles on it, knowing that in the future I wanted to go 1 ton axles and 40-inch tall tires. The 40s are, to me, a little small. I think maybe in the future I'll go with some 42-inch stickies, but for now they do just fine. Maybe one day when they get worn down, I'll break down and buy some 42s, but yeah, they do just fine. Bead locks, I would love to have bead locks. They look sick, but my rims do just fine. Yeah, they are a little beat up, but the whole freaking thing is beat up. You know, you can't you can't complain about a scratch on your rim when you got dents in the cab or the roof peeling off. So with that, I just like to have fun. This thing is just so much fun. Every time I jump in the driver's seat of this thing, I rev bang it and shift through all the gears. And when I drive it on the highway, it drives great, like any, I guess, truck would from the 60s and 50s. Um, so, I mean, this thing, it creeps. It creeps really slow with that low first gear and the 538 gears and the axles and the 40-inch tall tires. But I've also done 90 miles an hour. So this thing does haul ass, um, but it's fun. I like beating on it. You guys may have also noticed I don't have any gauges. So I keep track of everything on a little Bluetooth device that plugs into the OBD port and Bluetooth to my phone. So I just have my phone set up on the dash when we're out wheeling. Maybe in the future I'll get some gauges, but the gauges on my phone actually work great. I can see my coolant temp. I can see basically everything that I need to see besides speed and fuel level. But fuel level, I just use a stick, and speed is all judgment or GPS. This right here shows you that a kid with no knowledge of how to work on a car, how to build a car, can come out, have fun in the shop with his brothers and his dad, and learn a little bit and build something cool in the process and actually have fun doing it. So if you guys are eager to start a project, start that thing. Get some little beater car and just have fun with it, learn with it, and continue to just have fun and make memories with everyone. Every time I go out with this thing is just another memory for me of having fun with my friends and family, and getting to go out with everyone and see everyone. It's just a fun time. So you don't have to be into rock crawling, whether you like, hot rods or JDM cars. Just get in the garage, get wrenching on stuff, learn a little bit, and have fun. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys liked it. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys out there on the trail.